They told me I was lucky to land the job, and I guess I was. Stop and New paid nearly double what most convenience stores in Ohio offered, especially for overnight shifts. That meant I could finally afford groceries and tuck away a few dollars for my kids each month. Single moms don't get a lot of second chances in this world. So when the manager called me last week and said they were hiring for a night clerk at the Highway 19 location, way out near the old rail line, I said yes without hesitation. Even if something about that place never quite sat right. Tonight I showed up 20 minutes early as always. The store sits at the far edge of a dying strip mall, half the signs falling off, neon buzzing like insects in a jar. I parked, killed the engine, and just sat there a minute watching. That's when I saw it, a yellow sedan. Not parked in our lot, but across the two-lane road just off to the side. Driver's side door facing the store. It hadn't been there yesterday, and it didn't look like it belonged to any customer. The windows were fogged up from the inside, the back seat covered with what looked like blankets or maybe jackets piled high enough to block the rearview mirror. And for some reason, I felt like it was watching me. I know that makes no sense. Cars don't watch people. But this one sat wrong. Like it wasn't just parked, like it had been placed there, waiting. I got out of my car, tightened my jacket. The air smelled like cheap plastic and far-off gasoline. I started toward the front doors of the store when I remembered. Tonight was my first shift training someone new. Dale, the manager, had mentioned it yesterday during checkout. Just show him the ropes, he said. Don't worry, he's got experience. Didn't say a name, didn't give a resume. Just a shrug, and he starts Friday. Well, that was tonight. As if on cue, I heard a car door creak open behind me. I turned, half expecting Dale or maybe someone from another store. But it was him. A man stepped out of the yellow sedan. Mid-40s, maybe older, disheveled brown hair, eyes too sunken for his age. He wore our store's red and blue uniform shirt, but it looked like it had been slept in for days. One hand clutched a half-empty energy drink, the other a phone screen glowing white, but he wasn't looking at it. He was looking at me, expressionless, not smiling, not even blinking, just watching. I gave a small wave. Hey, you here for training? He didn't answer, just nodded once, then started walking toward me slowly, stiffly, as if every step was being translated through a delay. It took everything in me not to back away. There was something wrong with the way he moved, like he didn't understand how knees worked. We entered the store together. The bells above the door gave that same tired chime. Fluorescents hummed overhead, casting shadows too long for how dim they were. Name's Jackie, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Been here 6 months. You? No reply. He stood near the coffee machine, staring at the decaf sign like it was written in another language. I tried again. You want me to show you how the registers work, or? He turned to me, smiled. But the smile didn't match his eyes. It stretched too far, held too long, like a mask being pulled taut. I know how this works, he said softly. Then he walked past me toward the freezer section, leaving a faint smell of wet carpet and ozone in the air. I stood there, heart thudding, wondering what the hell I'd just signed up for. 20 minutes in, and something was already wrong. But I needed this job. My kids needed this job. So I shook it off, told myself maybe he was just awkward. But when I glanced back out the window toward the yellow car, it was gone. I blinked. The yellow car was gone. I stepped closer to the window, pressing my forehead to the cool glass. Nothing, just the road empty. No headlights, no taillights, no sound of an engine starting, no tire marks on the wet concrete. But it was there. I saw it. Didn't I? I looked back at him, still by the freezers, staring into one of the doors like he was watching TV. A frozen turkey dinner fogging the glass. Hey, I called, keeping my voice casual. Did someone come get your car? He didn't move. Didn't even turn his head. Fine. I moved behind the counter and logged in. The cash register chimed awake. Our system ran on some early 2000s software with an ugly green-on-black interface. Nothing fancy, but it worked. I opened the employee login tab to add the new guy. But something was off. There was no entry for him. No temp ID, no badge assignment, not even a name. I checked the schedule Dale gave me. 2 lines. Jackie R. 10:0 p.m. to $600 a.m. New hire TBD. That was it. No official record, no onboarding. No one knew. My fingers hovered over the keyboard.
Was this one of Dale's dumb jokes?
He once sent a life-size cardboard cutout of Chuck Norris to scare the early shift. Nearly gave Kayla a panic attack. Maybe this was another stunt. Except that smile, that smell, that silence.
None of it felt like a joke.
I turned to look again. He was gone. I scanned the aisles, walked toward the back. Hello.
No answer.
I passed the coffee station, the snack wall, the coolers. Then I heard it. A faint hum like someone breathing through their teeth, sharp, shaky. It was coming from the break room. The door was slightly open. I pushed it slowly. The tiny space beyond was lit by one flickering bulb. 2 metal chairs, a microwave, a locker I never used. On the table was a time card.
My time card.
Someone had drawn on it. A thick, greasy black line scratched through my name, Jackie, and underneath it, in smudged red ink, someone had written, "She won't last." I froze, looked behind me. The hall was empty.
No footsteps, no voice, no breath but my own.
When I came back out, the man was at the counter, staring up at the ceiling. His mouth was slightly open, whispering something.
No customers had come in, no bell had rung, but somehow he'd made it there without a sound.
I cleared my throat. You good?
He didn't answer, just looked at me and said, "It's almost time." I laughed nervously.
For what?
He blinked. Then he smiled again, that same stretched too tight grin.
You'll see.
And with that, he walked toward the back of the store.
I should have called Dale, should have locked the doors, should have walked out.
But all I did was stand there, my legs frozen, stomach twisted, skin cold with sweat.
Something in me didn't want to follow him.
Didn't want to know what he meant by time.
I turned back to the register.
There, printed on the receipt printer, was a new message. No sale had been rung up. No button had been pressed.
But a thin white strip of paper had curled out of the machine, and on it, in the same red ink as before, 2:17 a.m.
I stared at the receipt in my hand for a long time. 2:17 a.m. It was printed in red ink, not the usual black thermal text our machine used. There was no customer, no transaction, just that time sitting like a countdown.
I glanced at the clock above the coffee station. 10:42 p.m.
Roughly 3 hours and 35 minutes to go.
To what? I crumpled the paper, tossed it in the trash, and checked the security monitor behind the counter. We had 6 grainy black and white camera feeds, front lot, back hallway aisles 1 through 4.
The one I was supposedly training, wasn't on any of them.
I flipped through the views again. Nothing. Either the cameras were glitched or he was somewhere they didn't cover. But that shouldn't have been possible. We had full visual on the entire floor. I tapped the monitor. The image stuttered, then flicked back to the front lot. Still empty. The yellow car was back, parked exactly where it had been earlier. Same angle, same fogged-up windows. I hadn't heard it return.
I grabbed the landline to call Dale. No dial tone.
I pressed every button, nothing but a faint, static-filled hum in my ear like wind across a microphone. I hung up, checked my phone. 1 bar, then no service. I held it up to the ceiling, the window, even walked outside.
Nothing.
Dead zone. Back inside the store, lights flickered once, just enough to make the buzzing fluorescent scream for a second. I jumped. Then, silence.
I took a long breath and paced back to the coolers, trying to look busy, to feel busy.
That's when I noticed the back freezer door, the one that led into our cold storage, was wide open.
It shouldn't have been.
It was locked with a keypad. Only Dale and I knew the code.
And I hadn't gone near it. A trail of faint, wet footprints led out from inside.
Bare feet. No shoes, no tread. Each print slightly smeared, as if the person dragging themselves had struggled to walk. They led down aisle 3 and disappeared halfway toward the snack shelf.
I followed them. Slowly.
The air grew colder with every step. Not air conditioning cold. This was basement of a morgue cold. The kind that claws under your clothes and breathes down your spine. At the end of the trail on the floor, I found a single item. A receipt. Not printed. Handwritten. Same red ink as the others. 2:17 a.m. Aisle 3, witness required. What the hell does that mean? I muttered, nearly tearing it in half. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming from the stockroom in the back.
I rushed back to the front, heart pounding, trying to get behind the counter where I felt marginally safer.
As I rounded the corner, he was there, standing perfectly still behind the register.
The man I was training.
His eyes didn't follow me. He was staring up at the ceiling, mouth slack. I took a shaky breath. You... Okay. No answer. Where were you just now? I tried to sound firm.
He blinked slowly, then smiled.
I never left. I stepped closer. You were in the stockroom. I heard you.
He shook his head. You heard someone, not me.
I looked at his hands. They were wet.
Not sweat, not water.
Something thicker. A deep amber-colored stain clung to his fingers and sleeves, and his name tag, which hadn't been there before, now read Cole. That name meant nothing to me, but something about the way it was written, shaky block letters slightly off-center, made me feel like it had been made for him. Not by him. Where's your badge ID? I asked.
He tilted his head. Don't need one. Not anymore.
Why?
He smiled wider.
Because you're here now. I stepped back, bumped into the chip rack. A bag of barbecue-flavored something hit the floor.
He didn't flinch.
Didn't even glance.
Just turned slowly and walked toward the coffee machines.
I called out to him, "Stop!" He ignored me.
I moved to the front door, hands shaking, ready to bolt. But it wouldn't open.
I flipped the lock. Pushed. Pulled. Nothing. The electronic release was frozen. The keys didn't work either. The door was sealed. I was trapped inside. With him. With whatever this was.
Suddenly, the music overhead, a soft, generic playlist we usually played to keep things from feeling too sterile, cut out.
Silence. Then static. Then faintly, a voice.
A woman's voice, garbled.
Jackie, can you hear me? I froze. The voice was coming from the PA system. I walked behind the counter, leaned into the receiver, picked up the mic. Hello. Static. Then, 217. Don't let him see you.
Aisle 3.
It cut out. I dropped the mic. Cole was gone.
Nowhere in sight. I looked at the monitors again, and every screen was black except one.
Aisle 3. On it, I saw myself, standing still.
But I wasn't standing still.
I was behind the counter. I stared at the feed. The figure on the screen turned its head slowly and looked into the camera.
Not me.
Same clothes, same hair.
But the face was wrong.
Blank. Like wet paper stretched over bone.
And then it smiled. I backed away from the monitor.
The screen still showed me, or something that looked like me, standing in aisle 3, motionless. Its face remained smooth and waxy, like it had been sculpted wrong on purpose. It tilted its head just slightly and blinked, but not normal blinking. The lids didn't shut vertically. They moved sideways like a lizard. I slammed the monitor off. No more. The silence inside the store felt heavier now, like the walls themselves were pressing in. I took a deep breath and tried to steady my hands. Get out of here, I whispered to myself. Just leave. Find the fire exit. But something inside me knew that door wouldn't work either. Still, I had to try.
I rounded the counter, headed toward the emergency exit in the back, near the cleaning supply shelf.
When I got there, the red "Emergency Exit Only" sign had been scratched out. Not torn, scratched like claws had dug into the plastic, carving deep grooves through every word. I pushed on the bar.
It didn't budge. Instead, the light above the door sparked and hissed, casting a sickly green hue across the floor.
And then
I heard it again.
that voice.
The same one that came through the PA earlier. A woman's voice, desperate, urgent, but distant, like it was underwater. Jackie, aisle 3, don't look away. I turned around and saw aisle 3 had changed. The shelving was gone, all of it. Where there had been chip soda and cheap candy, now stood a narrow black hallway so dark it swallowed the light around it. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, but it didn't change. The hallway didn't exist a second ago. But now it reached deep into a space that shouldn't have been there. At the end of it, I saw someone. A man.
Slumped over, wearing a stop-and-new uniform.
The badge glinted faintly in the flickering lights. I stepped closer, drawn in like my body was on strings. I whispered, "Hello."
No response.
Just that buzzing fluorescent hum and the low sound of something breathing from deep inside the hall. I took another step forward. The lights behind me flickered once, twice, then stayed dim. My shadow stretched unnaturally long across the linoleum floor, distorting as if something was crawling inside it. The man in the hallway moved, just a twitch, his hand sliding an inch forward. Then his head lifted. His eyes were sewn shut, Crude black thread held his eyelids closed like someone had done it in a hurry. Blood had dried down his cheeks in branching rivers.
He opened his mouth. No lips moved, but his voice came anyway.
Don't let it wear your face.
Then his jaw cracked wide open, far too wide, and the scream that followed didn't come from his lungs. It came from everywhere. From the shelves, from the walls, from behind my own eyes. I screamed too,
Spun on my heel.
and slammed into Cole.
He was standing right behind me, unmoving. His eyes, if they could even be called that, glowed faintly yellow in the dim light, like a candle burning behind wax.
You weren't supposed to see that, he whispered. I shoved past him and ran. Didn't stop.
Didn't look back.
I turned down aisle 4, cutting toward the front exit when every product on the shelves exploded off at once.
Cans, boxes, bags, everything.
Flying across the aisle, pelting me like shrapnel. I ducked, covered my head, and tripped over something soft.
A time card.
My name was scratched out again.
This time replaced with one word: replacement. I scrambled up panting and made it to the counter. Slapped the cash drawer open and yanked out the small emergency key Dale kept hidden under the till.
Then I ran back to the front door.
The lock clicked. I twisted the handle. The door opened. Cool night air rushed in. Sweet, crisp oxygen. I stepped outside
And froze.
It was morning.
But not morning now. Morning yesterday.
The lot was full, sun shining, customers walking in and out like it was just another day. I spun in place, looked at my phone. The date was wrong. It had reset. 24 hours earlier. What the hell was happening? I turned to go back in and find someone, anyone,
And saw myself.
inside,
Behind the counter. Smiling. Helping a customer.
I stood there watching, stunned. My other self handed the man a receipt, joked about the coffee being only slightly toxic, then waved him goodbye.
And then,
She looked at me.
straight through the glass.
Our eyes locked, but only one of us blinked. I stumbled back. The yellow car pulled into the lot again, same angle, same fogged-up windows. Cole stepped out.
He looked up, saw me, smiled, waved,
Like he'd just arrived. Again.
like none of this had happened.
I backed away, heart racing, and when I turned, I was no longer outside.
I was back in the break room. Same flickering light, same metal table, same time card with the red ink. Only this time a new message was scrawled on the wall in large, smeared letters.
You clocked in. You can't clock out. I stared at the red words smeared across the wall.
You clocked in. You can't clock out. My hands were trembling. I wiped at the letters instinctively as if some part of me believed they couldn't be real.
They didn't smudge.
Didn't budge.
Paint blood.
It didn't matter. The message was clear.
I was trapped. Not just inside the store, but inside a time that wasn't real anymore. I checked the wall clock. Still 10:42 p.m. Exactly the same time from earlier. I pulled out my phone.
Battery 1%. The screen flickered, then shut off completely.
I stuffed it back into my pocket and took a deep breath, trying not to fall apart.
I opened the break room door slowly and stepped out.
The store was quiet again. Shelves pristine. Floor swept. Coffee station refilled. Everything was exactly how it had been at the start of my shift. Except Cole was back.
Leaning against the freezer doors, drinking the same energy drink from earlier, looking like he'd never left.
You're doing well, he said casually.
I didn't answer.
You lasted longer than the others.
I stared at him. Others.
He smiled faintly. We all have to train someone eventually.
I stepped closer. What are you talking about? His eyes flickered yellow again. I was where you are once. Lost. Panicked. Trying to leave. I fought it too.
He took another sip. Then I realized it's not about fighting. It's about accepting.
I shook my head. No, this isn't real. This is a dream. A hallucination.
He tilted his head.
Is it?
He motioned toward aisle 3. Go ahead, ask her.
Her.
I turned slowly.
Aisle 3 had changed again?
Now it looked like a hospital corridor, grimy white tiles, fluorescent lights flickering above and at the far end.
A woman.
Thin, pale, hair matted to her face. She wore a torn hospital gown. Electrodes still clung to her scalp wires, dragging behind her like metal vines. She was staring at me. No, staring through me. I stepped closer. With each footstep, the store around me fell away. Shelves dissolving into peeling white walls, the smell of coffee and bleach turning into sterile antiseptic and mold. My sneakers squeaked against linoleum as I entered what felt like another place entirely. The woman didn't move, but I saw her lips begin to form a word. Jackie. I froze. Oh, who are you?
She raised a trembling hand and pointed not at me, but past me.
I turned.
There was another Jackie standing beside me,
This one in hospital scrubs. Pale, hair gone, tubes taped to her neck. She looked at me with haunted eyes.
"You need to wake up," she whispered, "before it eats your name."
Suddenly the lights went out.
Total blackness.
I screamed and reached for the shelves, but there were no shelves, just empty space. Then a voice whispered in my ear, one I hadn't heard since I was a child.
My mother's voice.
"Don't be late, sweetheart. They don't like when you're late."
I spun wildly. Stop it. Then another voice, my old boss from the diner. 5 minutes late and you're done, Jackie. No second chances. Then Dale. You know this job pays double for a reason.
Then Cole.
Time's up.
Suddenly all the lights surged back on. I was back in the store.
But it was different. The walls were breathing. Literally. Every surface pulsed like a lung, expanding and contracting, coated in a film of sweat and grime. The floor beneath me was no longer tile. It was blackened flesh, slick and warm under my feet.
And behind the counter, hanging upside down like a butchered animal, was my body.
Eyes wide, mouth slack.
Hands twitching as if trying to wake up.
I ran. Didn't look back.
Didn't breathe.
Just ran straight into the storage room, the one place that hadn't warped yet. Inside, I slammed the door and locked it. But there, sitting neatly on the supply shelf, was a photo.
A group picture.
Stop a new employee of the month.
There were 8 people in the photo.
I recognized Dale, a few old co-workers, even Cole.
But my breath caught in my throat when I looked at the back row.
Because the last person was me.
Wearing a uniform, smiling.
But the date stamped on the photo was 2016.
That couldn't be.
I'd only started working here 3 days ago.
I stared at the image, then noticed something else scratched into the corner of the frame in red ink.
1 clocks in, 1 clocks out.
I turned the frame over. Behind it, taped to the wall, was a key. Small, brass, etched with the number 217. I took it and rushed out of the storage room back into the flickering nightmare that was now the main store floor. Cole was waiting, behind the counter, smiling.
He held up a time card. Mine. Jackie B, 10:42 p.m. Then he flipped it over.
On the back, written in red.
This time, stay awake.
I raised the key.
Where does this go?
He nodded toward aisle 3. To your choice. I walked toward the aisle.
Once more, it was no longer an aisle, but a door. Metal, rusted. Marked employees only room 217.
I inserted the key. It turned. The door opened. Inside was darkness, and a faint, flickering glow like a hospital heart monitor.
Or a life support machine. And a voice echoed from the black.
You're not trapped in the store, Jackie. You're trapped in the shift. Then silence. The key clicked in the lock and the heavy door creaked open. Room 217 smelled like old metal and dying electricity. It wasn't a storage closet as I'd expected, no shelves, no boxes. It was just dark. At the far end, faint green light blinked slowly like a heartbeat on life support. Beep! 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 I stepped in. The door shut behind me.
There were no windows, just steel walls. Cold gray, seamless.
The blinking green light came from a monitor mounted on the wall above a single hospital bed.
And lying in the bed was me.
Pale, motionless.
Tubes in my arms, IVs in my neck. A machine breathing for me.
My knees buckled.
No, I whispered. But I knew. Somewhere deep down I'd known all along. This wasn't just a haunted convenience store. This was a coma. I staggered forward and gripped the rail of the hospital bed.
My body didn't respond. It didn't blink. Didn't move.
The monitor read, Patient Jacqueline B. Date admitted October 12, 71 days ago. Condition unresponsive. Induced coma. Cause head trauma. Vehicular incident.
My mind reeled. October 12th. That was the night I'd left work late. A truck had run a red light. I remembered the scream of metal and glass, then nothing. And now, this, the job, the store, stop anew. All of it a simulation created by my dying brain.
Or something else.
Behind me, the voice returned. Cole, You're not in a coma, Jackie. I turned slowly. He was inside room 217 now too, but he looked wrong. His uniform was fraying. His eyes were glowing steadily now, no longer yellow but pure white, like twin bulbs burning from within. You were for a while, he said, walking slowly around the bed, but something found you. It crawled into the crack between your thoughts, between the real and the dream. I stepped back. What are you talking about?
Cole smiled, but it wasn't human anymore. There are places in the world where time forgets to move forward, where souls get misplaced. He touched the wall and it rippled like water. And here we make the shift last forever. No pain, no hunger, no bills, no heartbreak. He leaned closer. No death.
I shook my head violently. This isn't living. He laughed. But it is surviving. You don't know what's waiting for you out there. They've already decided to pull the plug.
He gestured to the monitor. Your time card's nearly expired.
I looked. The screen now showed
Oxygen, 17%, heart rate. 48, BPM decision, DNR do not resuscitate.
My heart dropped. Someone had signed a DNR. I gripped the bed rail tighter, knuckles white. Cole stepped closer. You don't have to go. Stay. Take my place. What?
He smiled wider. There's always an employee. One at a time, one clock in, one clock out.
The wall behind him shifted, turning into a mirror, but it didn't reflect reality. In the mirror, I saw every aisle of the store, filled with motionless employees in stop and new uniforms. Some had their eyes sewn shut. Others wore name tags that bled, all of them trapped in various poses, like mannequins in forgotten time. And at the very front behind the counter was Cole, watching me.
Waiting.
The real Cole turned and extended his hand. Clock in, Jackie. The store needs you. But now I understood. The store wasn't just a building. It was a system, a trap.
A place that fed on people left behind.
The traumatized, the broken, the comatose, the hopeless. People like me. I backed away. No, I said. I want out. His eyes narrowed. You can't leave without a replacement.
I looked down at my own body in the bed, still unmoving, still breathing.
Then I turned to the wall. The monitor now displayed a single blinking word. Exit.
And under it, 2 options.
Stay. Wake up. I looked back at Cole.
He was changing.
His skin was peeling off in sheets, muscles writhing underneath, bones shifting.
You'll regret this, he hissed.
I pressed my hand to the word, wake up. The room began to shake violently. Fluorescent lights exploded above me. The ground cracked open. Screams erupted from the shelves, the registers even from inside the vending machine. But I held on.
I'm not your employee, I shouted. I quit.
And then everything went white. Silence. Then a faint beeping. Beep, beep, beep.
A different one. I opened my eyes. Blinding hospital lights above me.
The beep of a real heart monitor next to me. My throat burned, my chest hurt, my body felt like lead.
A nurse screamed.
Dr. Loomis, she's waking up.
Voices flooded in, people rushing, hands on my arms.
But I was smiling.
Because I was back.
Later that day, when the doctors explained how long I'd been under, I could only nod.
71 days. They said I'd flatlined that morning for 20 seconds.
They were just about to call it.
But somehow, something had changed. When I was alone in the room later, I looked at the flowers, the machines, the time card clipped to my chart.
No name on it, just a small red note.
You clocked out.
But even now, I don't go into gas stations after dark.
Especially not the ones with yellow cars parked out front.
Because sometimes, when I close my eyes,
I still hear Cole's voice in the static of the intercom. I don't remember much about waking up in the hospital. Just the sterile white ceiling, the cold hum of fluorescent lights, and the overwhelming sense that something was wrong. They told me I'd been unconscious for 71 days. Coma, dehydration, hallucinations. They threw a bunch of terms around like labels could explain it all.
But none of them explained what I remembered.
They ran cognitive tests. I passed them all. They said I was lucky, but I didn't feel lucky. I felt unfinished. When they finally gave me my phone, I expected dozens of missed messages, but there were only a few. My eldest daughter texted asking if I was okay. A few old friends sent well wishes, but from Stop and knew nothing.
no calls, no emails, no record.
I searched the store online. Nothing. No address, no business listing, no images. It was as if the place had never existed.
A void on the map where it should have been.
I thought of Cole, of the yellow car parked across the street that night, of the man with the wrinkled uniform and dead glowing eyes, of room 217 and the frozen snapshots of employees locked in time.
No, that couldn't have all been a dream.
It was too vivid, too real. A week after waking, once I was stable, they let me go home. I was walking, talking again, eating solid food, but sleep that never returned. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Cole's voice whisper,
Time to train the next one. You clocked out, but someone else has to clock in. And then came the letter. No return address, no stamps, just a thin yellow envelope on my doorstep at 300 a.m.
Inside was an employee badge.
My name printed on it, Jacqueline B. On the back in bold lettering, welcome back to the night shift stop and new.
I threw it in the trash immediately, but the next morning, it was sitting on my kitchen table. This time scribbled in shaky handwriting beneath the logo. Shift starts tonight. You know the way. I started to wonder if I was still dreaming. Had I really woken up? Or was I still inside the store? I decided I had to go back. That same road, the one I'd driven every night before my shift. The same cracked pavement, the same flickering streetlights. Except tonight, it was colder, emptier, like the air itself was holding its breath. Then I saw it. The yellow car, parked exactly where it had been.
No license plate, no driver.
I stepped out of my vehicle, heart pounding. The car door was slightly ajar. Inside, another badge. This one read,
Mason D. Trainee.
I turned around and saw it across the street. The store. The lights flickered to life one by one, casting a sickly green glow. The sign above the door buzzed faintly.
STOP and NEW.
It had returned. No GPS. No online presence. But here it was. Now. I should have walked away. I should have gotten back in my car and never looked back. But I didn't. Because once, I was the trainee, and now someone needed guidance. I opened the door. The familiar jingle echoed, same aisles, same camera, even the same bloodstain dried on the floor beneath the counter.
And then I saw him, Mason.
Standing near the register holding a manual. He couldn't be older than 20, pale, nervous, tired. I approached slowly.
Hey, I'm Jackie, I said. I'm here to train you.
His eyes lit up with relief. Oh, thank God, I thought they just left me here.
I gave a thin smile. You're not alone, not in here.
I glanced up at the surveillance camera and saw Cole, not in the flesh, but on the screen. His face, pale and expressionless, appeared in the top corner, still wearing that wrinkled uniform, still watching, still smiling. Good job, Jackie. You're learning the system.
I turned back to Mason.
You saw the yellow car, right? I asked.
He nodded. Yeah, it's just sitting there.
I nodded too. It always is.
And so I began training him,
just like Cole trained me.
I told him about the rules.
Never open the freezer after midnight. Never enter room 217 unless it's your shift. And most importantly, when the store goes completely silent, ask yourself, is this your final shift? The night shift doesn't end.
Not really.
It loops. It selects.
And now I understand. We're not here to break the cycle. We're here to warn the next one.
Because sometimes you don't choose the night shift.
The night shift chooses you. Mason was a fast learner. He didn't question much, not the flickering lights, not the way the cameras sometimes replayed footage from hours before, or how a customer would walk in, vanish behind an aisle, and never reappear on the footage again.
He simply accepted it, like I once did.
That scared me more than anything. The store had rules, but even the rules felt like suggestions now. Some nights the freezer would rattle at 12:01 a.m. Other times the snack aisle would stretch longer than it should, like the shelves were moving farther back deeper into the store. One night Mason asked me,
"Do you think we're in between something like purgatory?"
I didn't answer, because I didn't know. That night we had a customer. A man walked in around 2:13 a.m. He wore a dark hoodie face hidden in shadow. He never spoke, never looked up, just grabbed a bottle of water, a pack of gum, and paused at the cigarette display like he'd forgotten what he came for. I rang him up. The register glitched for a moment, then displayed total $0. He dropped exact change on the counter anyway. As he turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of his face in the security monitor.
No eyes, no mouth, just skin stretched smooth where his face should be.
Mason didn't see it. At least I hoped he didn't.
But then he whispered, "Did he look like Cole to you?"
I didn't answer, because deep down I knew that was Cole.
A week later, the store changed.
Subtly at first. The magazines all showed the same front cover, a headline in bold white text.
"You're next."
The snack shelf was gone, literally vanished. When I asked Mason if he'd seen it, he blinked like it had never been there. Like I was asking about something that didn't exist. Then came the knock, at the back door.
No one ever knocks there.
I grabbed the bat we kept under the counter. Mason trailed behind me, silent eyes wide.
I opened it. There was nothing, just darkness, pitch black.
And then, a hand reached out.
Not to grab me, but to hold something out.
A badge, like mine. Same plastic, same logo, same name.
But not my name.
It said, Emily H., Assistant Manager.
I looked at Mason.
He looked confused.
That's my mom's name. Before I could respond, the door slammed shut.
Mason stepped back, breathing fast. Jackie, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. The store lights dimmed. Every sign flickered. The clock above the microwave spun backward, counting down. The cameras cut out one by one until only room 217 remained on screen. Then the door creaked open.
Inside room 217, we found shelves stocked with boxes, employee records. Thousands of them, some dating back decades. Photos, badges, letters, all labeled,
all marked, unreturned. I found mine.
My real one, the badge I lost after the coma. Same ID photo, same plastic crease on the corner.
And taped to the back a note in handwritten ink. You were never supposed to leave. They let you go to bring someone back.
I turned to Mason. He was pale eyes locked on a box he'd opened.
Inside was a faded photo, a little boy with his mother. Emily, Mason whispered. She used to work night shift at a store when I was a kid.
She never came back.
It hit me. That's the rule. The store doesn't take everyone, just those with a reason to return, a connection, a thread.
Mason wasn't just here to be trained.
He was here to complete a cycle.
We left room 217. The lights were fully off now. The store hummed like it was alive, like it had just exhaled after holding its breath too long. A man stood at the register.
Cole, this time with a face. His eyes were hollow, but they stared at Mason. Welcome to your shift, he said. We've been waiting. Mason stepped forward. I'm not supposed to stay.
Cole tilted his head. Then why did you follow the call?
Mason held up the badge. I want my mom back. Silence. Then the lights burst back to life. Every bulb, every screen.
Flashing images of customers screaming, employees running, faces with no mouths, hallways that looped, blood smeared on time cards, broken clocks.
I grabbed Mason's hand. Run! We bolted for the door. It didn't open.
No matter how hard we pulled.
The register beeped. The screen read, 2 employees clocked in, 1 must clock out. Mason looked at me. I'm not leaving without her. I took a breath and nodded. Then take my shift. I swiped my badge.
The door clicked.
Opened. Mason froze, but no, I said, go.
He ran, didn't look back.
The moment the door slammed shut, everything reset.
Shelves restocked, coolers hummed, clock reset to 800 p.m.
A new badge printed from the counter. My name on it again. Jacqueline B., Manager.
I took my seat behind the register. The camera turned on.
Room 217 glowed.
Cole was gone, but now I was on the monitor, watching,
waiting
for the next trainee, because someone always has to keep the store running.
And it's stopping new. The night shift never ends.